They say silence is the safest place for people like him. But on that morning, when a single slap echoed through a mansion built on arrogance, the truth stood up, cleared its throat, and refused to be ignored. Stay with this story to the end, because what looked like a mistake became a mirror, and not everyone could bear their own reflection. Don't forget to subscribe. Your support is what will help us reach our first 1,000 subscribers. The marble floor was so polished it reflected the chandelier like a frozen sun. Every step felt like trespassing on wealth. Elijah moved quietly, the way he had learned to, eyes lowered, shoulders squared, breath measured. The uniform they gave him was too thin for the cold, air conditioning, and too small for his dignity, but he wore it anyway. He always did. Elijah was the housemaid, or at least that was what they called him. To them, he was invisible until something went wrong. Mrs. Whitmore's voice cut through the mansion like a blade. "Elijah, how many times do I have to tell you? You people never listen." The words landed heavy, familiar. You people. Elijah paused, fingers tightening around the tray of crystal glasses. He swallowed the response that burned his throat. Rent was due. His mother's medication wasn't cheap. Silence, he reminded himself, is survival. Mr. Whitmore sat in his leather chair, legs crossed, newspaper raised like a shield of entitlement. He didn't even look at Elijah when he spoke. "Don't just stand there. Do your job." The room smelled like expensive cologne and old power. Every object screamed ownership. Paintings, trophies, photos of smiling white faces shaking hands with politicians. Elijah felt small, reduced to a shadow moving between symbols of success he was never meant to touch. As he reached to place the tray down, Mrs. Whitmore stood abruptly. "Careful. Do you even know what those glasses cost?" She stepped closer, too close, pointing a manicured finger inches from his face. "Honestly, sometimes I wonder how people like you even find work. People like you." The words pressed on his chest, squeezing air from his lungs. His heart pounded, not with anger, but with the familiar ache of being measured, judged and dismissed before he ever spoke. Then it happened. As Elijah turned, startled by her sudden movement, his elbow knocked the tray. The glasses clattered. In the scramble, his open hand swung back instinctively. Slap. The sound cracked through the room like thunder. Time froze. Mrs. Whitmore staggered back, eyes wide, hand flying to her cheek. Mr. Whitmore leapt to his feet, newspaper falling to the floor. "Did you just—" he roared. "You assaulted my wife." Elijah's world collapsed inward. His knees nearly buckled. I didn't mean—" His voice trembled. He raised his hands, palms open, fear written across his face. Security was called. Voices overlapped. Accusations flew like stones. Typical. "I knew it. Get him out of my house." The word house echoed in his mind. Your house, as if the walls themselves had decided who belonged and who didn't. Elijah stood there, surrounded by outrage, stripped of humanity, reduced to a stereotype in a moment that would define him, unless the truth was allowed to speak. And then, the truth cleared its throat. A calm voice came from the doorway. "That's enough." Everyone turned. An older black man in a tailored suit stepped forward, his presence commanding without a single raised note. He looked at Elijah, not with suspicion, not with pity, but with recognition. "Are you hurt?" he asked Elijah. Elijah shook his head, confused. The man turned to the Whitmores. "You've made a grave mistake." Mr. Whitmore scoffed. "And who are you supposed to be?" The man reached into his jacket and pulled out a folder. He placed it gently on the table, opening it with deliberate care. "My name is Dr. Samuel Carter, senior partner at Carter & Wells, lead, counsel for the Federal Equity. Compliance audit currently reviewing your corporation." The room went silent. Dr. Carter continued, voice steady. "And this young man you're accusing is Elijah Carter, my son." Mrs. Whitmore's face drained of color. Dr. Carter's eyes hardened, not with anger, but with truth sharpened by years of restraint. "Elijah is not your maid. He is a graduate researcher completing a sociological study on workplace bias in domestic labor conditions. At my request." Elijah finally spoke, his voice finding strength in the quiet. "I was documenting patterns, language, treatment, assumptions." Every word landed like a verdict. Dr. Carter closed the folder. "What happened here was an accident. But what led to it was not." Mr. Whitmore stammered, reaching for control that was slipping through his fingers. We didn't know." "That," Dr. Carter interrupted softly, "is the point." The power in the room had shifted. The walls no longer whispered ownership. They listened. Security stood frozen. No one moved. Dr. Carter turned to his son. "You don't have to stay here." Elijah nodded, shoulders finally lifting, breath finally free. As they walked toward the door, Dr. Carter paused. Justice doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it enters quietly, wearing a uniform you chose not to respect. The door closed behind them. Outside, the air felt different, lighter, honest. Elijah looked up at his father. "I almost lost myself in there." Dr. Carter smiled. "No," he said. "You found yourself. Listen to this. The world often mistakes silence for weakness. It confuses humility with ignorance, and it underestimates the quiet strength of those forced to endure. But dignity doesn't disappear when ignored. Truth doesn't shrink when unseen. And justice, real justice, has a way of revealing itself when arrogance speaks too loudly. So before you judge a person by their uniform, their role, their skin, or their silence, remember this story. Because power is not always seated at the head of the table. Sometimes it's standing quietly beside it, waiting for the truth to be heard. And if this story moved you, challenged you, or made you reflect, even uncomfortably, don't let it end here. Share your thoughts in the comments. Like this video if you believe dignity belongs to everyone. And subscribe because more stories like this deserve to be told and remembered.